In this week's reality check, we're talking about 5 ways to self-coach yourself off junk food. John and I will be talking about forming new mental relationships with food, breaking patterns, changing habits, getting rid of banishing food guilt and getting caught in that cycle mentally. We're talking about how that physically affects us as well, and things we can do to help ourselves when we feel like we're falling off the ladder, and how we can make sure that we keep keeping on. Welcome to
Good
Reality Check,
morning from Guiseley.
and good morning from London office.
This is our. Obviously, we would love to be sat in Paul's living room with a cup of tea, but we obviously from
Don't tell
time
everyone it's my living room.
we
It's
obviously
supposed to be an office.
we obviously from time to time do have a life, which means that we do end up travelling to various destinations. Paul is in London. I am sat in Guiseley in my car. Before we go any further, do you want to explain what we're going to talk about today, Mr. Paul?
I think we should, before we start rambling off
Yeah.
to everybody watching and listening. So this week's, as you saw in the intro, episode of Reality Check is all about 5 ways to coach yourself off junk food. Well, that's a bit to go out there, isn't it, John? So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the
Especially,
points we're going to be
well,
covering?
before we even cover them, I mean, I only have to look to my right, and there's a certain branded fast food restaurant with which generally speaking is a yellow M. And
I don't recall any. So, but anyway,
and they've spent a fortune doing the insides out of the new restaurant. It actually don't look. I've had a cup of tea. I don't get me wrong. Don't worry about that. I'm not somebody who's going to go and devour an 850 calorie Big Mac that wouldn't even touch the sides. It's just a cup of tea.
exactly. So, as we said, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is our mental relationship with food. And I'm interested, John, to talk through with you how we think about food versus the reality. Because I know certain not to be named high street fast food giants who have over the years engineered their food. They're not things that you're going to find in the kitchen.
I do.
Yes.
Well, we can
Well,
talk about
this
engineering
is
food
the truth.
because I mean, I'm sure we've all seen these programs where the manufacturers add specific crunchiness type things and stuff in to make you want more.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. So how we think?
that
Yeah,
might be another topic. That might be another day. Because what we're the planning. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about junk food. We're going to talk a little bit about nutrition.
yeah,
I do have a little bit of a background in this 25 years of working with people's diets and stuff and trying to get them to be in shape. But the main focus, obviously, as always with these conversations, is to, as you said earlier, correlate what we're talking about in terms of coaching, in terms of the mindset, rather than just the physicality
absolutely.
of it. Okay.
Indeed.
So,
So perhaps let's open by thinking about the mental relationship with food.
well, what's your
So,
mental
John, do you want to?
relationship with food? I mean, we always start with a book on each of the chapters. Again, plugging
We
the
do.
book that's going to be coming out soon.
Always.
And we always talk about what our experiences is in terms of our mental relationship with food in general. I mean, what's your relationship with food, Paul? In terms
My
of
relationship with food for many years has been, and in recent years, it's been about decoupling feelings from the reality, which is why, I'm interested. We're talking about the mind. I've got to start with the reality of food, but the reality isn't our thoughts. And for me, it's been actually decoupling that. And what do I mean by that? Well, working with yourself, John, it's been a case of saying when you want food, it's just a feeling.
Mhm.
It's not always hunger. It's not driven by need. You don't need to reward yourself. And I mentioned in the intro around this food guilt and I've been naughty. No, you haven't. You eat what you eat. So I've had to re-engineer that in terms of getting away from that getting back to a healthy relationship in terms of mentally and physically with food. When I eat something that is high calorie and maybe not so good, like last night, I had a kebab, I really enjoyed it. But then I'll go and do some training and I'll run that off. And some days I eat a lot, some days I don't. But it's about, I've had to re engineer the way that I think about food. So it's those powerful drivers that I used to have to eat certain types of food and feel like I needed to do that. I didn't need to do that. And I've proved that over the last few years that actually I've redefined that relationship.
So, I mean, for me, I always go back. I mean, it depends how old you are. I always go back to the end scene on Dodgeball, where LeFleur is sat there with this huge jar of M&Ms because his life's in tatters. So it's his emotional sort of way of dealing with things. So we're talking about the distractions again, aren't we? We're talking about
We are.
sort of food as a distraction, as a coping mechanism when we have a bad day or a bad week. I mean, I'll be honest with you. One of my vices when I've had problems is I go for a can of Diet Coke. I know everyone's like, "Oh, is that all?" But like to me, it is something that I
Well,
don't.
I am.
It's not good for you. It's full of sweeteners. It's full of
No,
rubbish. You know, you could clean a
starting. Yeah.
2p piece in it, as they've shown on these videos. But that's my distraction. That's my coping mechanism. You know, I have clients, I have people who, you know, struggle when they have bad days. They just grab a bag of sweets or whatever else,
Mm.
you know, we want to try and look at this correlation because technically, if you really think about it, you know, the basics of not having junk food is we're all wanting to sort of be more healthy. So if you don't want junk food, the real basics of it is don't eat it. It's a physical process to put it in your hand
Mm.
and put it in your mouth. But that we know is not always the case because of the way that our emotions take over what our physical side is trying to say to us, isn't it? Same with alcohol. If you don't want to be alcoholic, just don't drink alcohol. But it doesn't work that way.
Well, indeed. Indeed. But so we have these powerful emotions, we have these powerful thoughts that drive us. So let's talk a little bit about some of these patterns and your thoughts, John, on how we can break those. Because certainly we see patterns there. And even if you subscribe, like a lot of us do, and I have done over the years too, I'm going to get to the end of the week and I'm going to have a beer and I'm going to eat probably too many crisps. And oops, I've eaten a whole tube of Pringles. That's okay. But when that continues the next night, the next night, the next night, that's something different, surely. That's a pattern, and breaking those patterns that repeat, which compound as well, because it then becomes a habit, which is the norm, and it doesn't make you feel better. You put on weight, you feel bad about yourself, and the whole thing compounds. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about patterns and how we can break them, I guess.
Okay, well, I mean, when I'm sort of like, you know, I'm no saint, and I've had times, you know yourself, I've been through some tough times where I've just sent you a picture of me devouring a 4 pack of sugar strand donuts because it's just been
It was always the same.
Alan
It was always the
Partridge
same. I
mixes
could
a
time
whole
pattern.
huge Toblerone all the way down from Dundee or
Yeah,
whatever it was in his bare feet. You know, when we talk
yeah.
about all these emotional ties that we have, and like I said before, there is a way. I mean, we're talking about habits, aren't we? A habit of leaning towards junk food for emotional ways. Well, when we look at how you've broken that pattern, a lot of it was down to how you broke the pattern in terms of your mindset. And we're not talking about mindset towards
Mm.
food. We're talking about mindset towards being more positive, just generally. So I think really there is scope for people to not be as emotionally upset by things. Yes, we all have those times where it just takes over. But then if it does take over, fine. But we're on about them wiping the slate clean. We're on about not dwelling on it because it's the dwelling.
Mm.
I see people, they've had a bad day, they wake up the next day, oh God, they beat themselves up because they've had a bad day, they dwell on it, and away they go again. And it's that cycle that just happens on a daily basis then.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And it seems to be that, you know, for me, just to chip in, There are a few things that are really important. I mean, we can go into other things on our circle of distraction around. We talk a lot about alcohol and other distractions that I've had, as well as maybe for me takeaway, but also in the house as well with other kind of unhealthy food, substituting things, giving yourself that kind of positive hit, the
Mhm.
positive happy chemicals of going for a run the next day. So maybe I'm not going to get that takeaway. I'm going to reward myself with a positive thing and shifting over to the sort of circle of reality that we call it. Maybe substituting and doing, we have a thing in our house where we do, healthy fish and chips, or we do, something that's a treat, a steak, but
Mhm.
we'll have that with something, some healthy options. It doesn't, we're not looking for perfection, are we? We always say that. I think that's so important. We're not looking for perfection in
No.
life. Perfection isn't reality.
We're not saying you can't have a pizza on
Yeah,
most
exactly.
people, I'm not talking everybody because I don't want to generalize, but most adults are trying to live
No.
a healthier life. They're trying to eat better. It's not that we're not seeing people like, well, I don't care about eating better. I just love my junk food and I'm always going to eat junk food every night.
Mm.
I think there's certain things that come into why people eat junk food when they don't want to. That's the thing. It's not like, I'm not saying that I really fancy a takeaway Saturday night. Well, fine. What we're talking about is the emotional forcing of eating junk food. It's
Mm.
trying to break the sort of correlation between your emotions and eating bad food, because we all want to eat better food. Maybe, I don't know. Is it maybe that we have a problem with knowledge about what we should be eating? I don't know whether it is. I think we all know what we should be eating. I think it.
Well, yeah, maybe maybe we're buying we're buying the dream, the advertising that this food is fun, that it's it is a treat. And I was talking to a lovely lady last night, and she was saying her son had some takeaway. It made him a bit poorly, and she was bemoaning the fact she was of kind of French Afro-Caribbean heritage. And it sounded like she was a great cook, and she was trying to get her son to eat this food, and it made me really ponder in that lovely conversation whether there's something just culturally going on, or whether there's, I mean, she was bemoaning it sounded like there was a bit of a shift there away from eating together maybe as a family. We've touched on those themes of of other distractions, people not being around their meal table and things like that. Do you think there's something kind of wider there? Do you think there's
Well,
something cultural?
I think it's a huge subject. It's a massive subject. It's not something we
Mm.
can do in 25 minutes. I think, but what we want to try and get across is the whole mindset. Okay, so the mindset of not, when you know you don't want to eat this junk food, why are you still
Yeah.
doing it? Are you questioning yourself, just like we do with everything else that we've spoke about in the coaching and self-coaching as we talk about it? If you're having that
Mm.
urge because you're having a bad day, well, fine. Have you sat yourself down and thought, this is not good, but am I going to just go with this because I'm feeling the way I am? This is my coping mechanism. I'll get through today. I'll have one bad day and then I'm just back on the horse tomorrow. Have you sat and spoke
Yeah.
to yourself about this? Because that's what we've broken with you. We've broken this habit. We've stopped this habit, and it's now become a habit where, yes, you do fall off the every now and then for a day, but then you're back on it. You've wiped the slate clean. You realize you've had a bad day, but I'm on the next day. You're not dwelling. It's not playing round in your mind because you've stopped, had the hard stop and said, what am I doing here?
Exactly. So, we've touched on a few themes there. You're absolutely right. Let's take it back to the kind of mental side of it, the mental strength and the inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Just stop and pause, take a bit of time and space, just stop, think about what you're doing without sounding dramatic. Take that time to have that inner dialogue for those that do. Or maybe even talk it through with other people who are having similar experiences. Mainly those you say there, don't let it compound, break the cycle. As we talk about wiping the slate clean, don't get food guilt where it's, oh no, I can't get off here, because all that does is it's a reinforcing thought, isn't it?
It's a
If you
limiting
say
belief.
you can't get out of it, you won't get out of it.
It's a limiting belief, isn't it? I'm never going to be able to
Limiting belief.
stop.
Yeah,
We talk about it. I'm never going to be able to stop eating bad food. That's a
exactly.
limiting belief. Well, we're not saying you shouldn't eat sort of like takeaways and whatever else from time to time. What we're talking about here is we're talking about the fact that if you know what is good for you and what is bad for you, and you have that level of knowledge that generally speaking, you know what you need to be doing, then there has to be a bit of self-coaching in there when you are linking bad eating habits to your mindset, that you are
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
emotionally
moving.
charged.
Exactly. It's moving. We also it's moving from previously it might be I've had a bad weekend. You'll hear people say that I've had a bad weekend, too much wine, to I had a treat. Had some nice food on Friday, Saturday, back on it. And actually, when you do that, I've found it really, and it's a whole podcast in itself. This idea that people are a bit scared, it's discipline, and I'm going to feel like I'm losing something. You don't, because what you do actually is discipline just becomes habit, and you get used to it now that you're getting back on it. There isn't this false belief that it has to be contained in a whole weekend. Why eat for Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night unhealthy food takeaway?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that, but you can still. It's not perfection. You can still have a night, and don't beat yourself up about that. Get away from that mindset is what I've found really powerful. And you get a buzz off that discipline in the end, because you're in control, and
Yeah.
being in control, as we've always said, mentally is incredible. It's liberating. That's without sounding too dramatic. I found that really liberating, and you get a buzz off that
Yeah.
in itself.
But when
That's what I
people
found.
say I've had a bad weekend, I mean, this is one of the things when we talk about this. Well, if you were to
Yeah,
ask that person, yeah, but did you enjoy it? And if they say yes, and they were doing it because they enjoyed it, then I'm not going to argue with that, because they've
yeah, good
enjoyed
time.
it. They've had a good time from
Yeah,
it. The problem what we're focusing on, well, I had a bad weekend and everything went wrong, and I wasn't feeling at my best, and I just ended up going to the shop and buying everything, and then they didn't enjoy it, and then that's when you feel that horrendous feeling of, well, I didn't enjoy it, and now I feel crap about it, because
yeah,
then you
yeah,
get to the Monday and you feel even worse. Then you start to dwell on it. Then you start to feel guilty. You think, what's the point? I'm giving up here. I'm just going to carry on piling whatever down me because it's making me feel better. But it's not making you feel better, is it? It's like drinking a lot of alcohol when you're feeling down. The alcohol makes you feel better temporarily, but the longer term effects are that after you come through it, you get a hangover and you feel even worse from the after
yeah,
effects.
yeah.
So we're not saying that you
And
can't have this, because it's about balance again. It's about keeping the scales
it is.
there.
It is, and we have these moments of, let's call it temptation, but maybe a better word we can come up with than that. But I've been in the aisle of the supermarket a few months ago and put the beer back. Well, hark at me, but you're sometimes going to be there. You're going to be around food. It's easy to buy these
Yeah.
things, and also just to mention that we know there are socioeconomic reasons. Without getting too deep into it, we know that there are circumstantial reasons. If you're a busy sales rep and you're on the road, all of that is reality,
Yeah.
and we need to factor that into this conversation. That's not the subject of what we're talking about, but just being able to stop, as you've said, to reiterate, and just have that conversation with yourself. If you're somewhere and the only food you can get is junk food, have the conversation with yourself, eat it. Hopefully, it'll fill you up. Move on, wipe the slate.
But then, but
But
then,
I think in reality, it's not always like that for people. It's
but
not.
but
There
are
are
you
options.
reflecting? This is the thing we talk about self-coaching. Whilst this is going on, are you on a day-to-day basis reflecting on this mentally? Are you saying? Are you actually saying to yourself, "I've had a bad day today. What am I going to do about it?" Or are you
Mm.
just letting it slide and having these bad days and not even being aware of it? Because that's the bigger problem if you have no
Mhm.
awareness that you are having these bad days. And that can happen
Yeah.
quite easily, where you just don't even realize you've had a bad day. And it's being able
Mm.
to be constantly, again, we speak about the inner dialogue, and we talk about thinking, maybe sitting there at the end of the day saying, how's my day been today? how have I done with
Yeah.
my exercise? You know, how many people at the end of the day go, how many steps have I done? Well, that's fine. You can look at your watch. You've all got Fitbits. But do you actually sit there and say, how's my day been in terms of my emotional state and how it's been linked to what I've been eating? Are you
Yeah.
reflecting?
Yeah.
Are you pondering? And are you thinking, I need to have a better day tomorrow? What am I going to do about it?
Yeah. So have that pause point, and that relates to so many different things we talk about as well, doesn't it, John? Time and space. Finding time and space was the subject of of one of our
Of
podcasts a few weeks
the
back. So
podcast. The podcast.
the podcast.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts as we wrap up, John, in terms of, yeah, if I am falling off the ladder, what are maybe two or three little things that people listening to this thinking, yeah, it all sounds good, but I just need to do A, B, C. What can that be? You mentioned that just having a little pause point at the end of each day. Great tip.
Well, we
What other
speak
couple
in
of
the
things
book,
perhaps
don't we? We
would I?
speak in the book about whether you've fallen off. We're hoping that
Yeah,
you're going to have enough self-coaching in a dialogue to understand when you're falling off. But everybody's falling off the ladder is all different. And so it really
yeah,
boils down to the individual as to, like I've just said, whether they are constantly thinking, are they aware? Firstly, are they aware of what they're doing as the day progresses? Are they just drifting through the day and not even remotely thinking about what they're shoving in their mouth? Or are they thinking, well, really, should I be having that? Is it okay? I'm not having a great day, but I suppose for today, I'm going to have to just suck it up. Are people
yeah,
thinking? Have their brains tuned in? Are they dialed in to what they're eating fully? It's all right, it's all right going on some radical diet, which they're probably not going to continue to. You can't go from eating quite a decent diet to then cabbage soup every day and expect to sort of sustain that, because you're going to get cravings, you're going to have bad days, you're going to. What we're looking at here is, are you understanding if you are falling off the ladder? Are you sitting there and asking yourself, what do I need to get back on it? What is the mindset? It's about personal
absolutely.
questions. I don't want to say, here are 3 questions you should be asking yourself. The main question is, am I fully aware of what I am putting in my mouth?
Yeah, yeah. Or have I gone on to autopilot?
Yeah, if I'm walking over
So
to McDonald's because I'm feeling down, am I aware of that? Am I okay with it? Am I happy with it? Will it make me feel guilty? If it does, will I get over it and start again tomorrow?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
these questions that you
Other
need to ask
providers of
yourself.
quality food are available.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I said the word there. So, anyway, yeah, but
Um, good stuff.
it's about the mindset. It's about, and like we said, we want to make sure that we're not saying you can't eat junk food, but for those that
No,
are stressed about it all the time, thinking I can't lose weight and I want to lose weight and I don't understand why I can't, you need to be a little bit more aware. The word is aware, and that's your mindset.
absolutely. So, final thought for me in response to that. I mean, if you tell me no, I turn into the petulant child. My chimp says yes, I will have that. So for me, it's always been, like you said, it's not perfection. It's not a hard no. It's that's okay. It's just a gentle, but then just think it through. And maybe do you want to do that again and again and again? And we talked about some ways to break the pattern, and that's different for
And
everyone.
one last thing about this revolving around the word willpower. Well, I haven't got the willpower. Well, I'd love to have your willpower. Willpower is not something we're born with. It's not something that we have. Willpower for most people is just taking yourself away from the thing that is going to distract you and cause you problems.
Mm.
So don't, if you have a problem with the big M, don't drive past it during the day. Don't be around, take yourself away from that distraction, or have a go at it. See how you feel that you're not
Yeah.
passing your favorite fish and chip shop on a Friday night if you don't want to. Avoid the supermarket bread aisle when you walk in, and go another way in. Go on the other eggs. Whatever it
It's the
is.
smell.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
the smell.
smell.
That's
That's
what
how
they
they
do.
engineer it, though, isn't it?
That's what's engineered. That's why
Yeah.
they put it there. So it's about
Well, indeed, indeed.
thinking about how you're going to do this. You know, I've done all sorts with clients. I've got them to put child gates on the stairs because they might go down and want to eat in the middle of the night. I've actually got them to put a child gate on because it just wakes them up and stops them doing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So brilliant.
Mindset.
Okay, thanks, John. We're going to wrap there. Thanks for listening, watching, and all of your support, viewers and listeners. If you'd like to drop us an email, we're available at realityclubhq@gmail.com. I'll give you the right email address this time. We've got lots of templates from the last couple of sessions and our work that we've done over the last few years that we're happy to share. I'll just check in and, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on this in the comments as well. Like and subscribe. Thanks so much from both of us for your support, and we look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Reality Chat.
Have a good weekend.